Hello everyone, this is Big Alski.
And JTB.
And this is Chapter 17 of Alhazard's Ninja Gaiden Sigma Hard Karma Run. So, this part is after Awakened Alma, and there are no beetle fights like there are in Ninja Gaiden Black.
No, they took those out and replaced it with 3 berserkers, which is kind of silly, in terms of, like, challenge, because, I mean, they kind of, they toned down berserkers somewhat in this game, but they made it so they could fight. They made it so they could do their grounded attack off screen, which is insanely cheap. But for the most part, you fight them one-on-one here. You're going to be abusing a sweet spot on the stairs, which he's showing here. Much like when you're on the lifts or in water, you'll notice that his smoke bombs are dropping through the floor, which seems to just be a weird bug in Sigma, because I've noticed a few more places where that actually happens. Like right there, you can see it. It just drops right down through the stairs. But this is a pretty safe sweet spot. Now, having like a lower level Debiloroi would obviously help getting more UTs here, but if you've watched the other videos, you'll know that the Debiloroi kind of needs to be at level 3 for this difficulty. And also, towards the end of the chapter, you'll notice that the chapter time limit is very, very strict for the pattern that he chooses to go with. So if he had, say, the level 1 Debiloroi, while he would be able to get more UTs, it would more than likely put him over the time limit.
Now, this is something that, I might have started over if I was going to go for like a super karma run, just because you got that ET, and it's at the beginning of the chapter. But at this point, he's like, man, I'm ready to get this over with.
Yeah, you definitely do. I know we've mentioned that a couple of times as well in previous videos. These last, I always call it the 3-chapter gauntlet. It's like what usually is 14, 15, and 16. And, you've done the whole game, and at this point, you really just want to get it out of the way and get it over with. And this is usually, it wasn't common, especially back when like a lot of people were doing karma runs. People would finish and then they'd go back and redo these 3 chapters like a few months later and bump up their score a little bit because they'd taken a bit of a break and they weren't as kind of burnt out on the whole thing. So keeping it together for this whole thing it takes a lot of determination.
Well, I quit on my Master Ninja run. I know I could have gone back and redone these couple of chapters and broke 25 million, but I was so sick of it at that point. It's like, no way.
I wish I'd have done it too. I remember when I started my run, and I finished not long before I went to university, so if I should have started that run about 2 months earlier, and I wouldn't have slacked on the last few chapters.
Getting back to the Berserkers real quick, yeah, they did do it to where, they can attack you off screen. The ground attack can attack you off screen, but how they balance that out is you can pretty much counter-attack them to death now. They don't break your guard like they did in Ninja Gaiden Black. That was one of the toughest things for me, was to learn how to fight the Berserkers.
Yeah, that was always one of my biggest complaints with Sigma, though, because I think that makes them, that does make those enemies it just makes them super cheap. When you have to fight them one-on-one, it went from one extreme to the next. Now they're a complete joke. They are so easy to kill. Whereas in the original, it was figuring out how to fight them properly that kind of, kicked your ass for a few times. And then when you figured out how to fight them, you're like, oh, okay, I just need to do this, this, and this. Whereas in this game, there's, apart from kind of abusing the Lunar counterattacks, it's got so much iframes, there's not really like a safe way to fight them because of just how much they can abuse their off-screen attack on you. So it really kind of gives this, the combat just a little bit of a notch down, in my opinion, because it really kind of made what was a really well-balanced enemy into just a super cheap enemy that was annoying to fight.
Well, you pretty much had to fight the very hard Great Bridge Challenge. Anything with Berserkers, pretty much with the Lunar counterattack. Anything with the Great Bridge.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, he's lowering his health here. One thing to note for the video, he will actually be showing his entire path, including saves, so you'll know what he does. And that's easily the fastest way to get your health down. Those bats are really hungry, so they chomp on Ryu. And it's always made me laugh, how fast bats drain your health in this game. I know it's in Chapter 6, I think, the first time it happened to me. And the bats where you go up the ladder, back up to the bone room, if you're not careful, they can kill you in that ladder animation. You start climbing the ladder and they start chomping on you, and it's really funny because Ryu will finish the ladder animation. He'll climb up and then just fall over because You've got no health. It's pretty cool. Now, one thing to know about this fight right here, this is actually the first time I've seen it done with the Gleaming Blade, and usually you would get a few UTs at the start with either the Debiler or the Warhammer, or a combination of both, and use the fire wheels. You want to aim for around 12 to 13 UTs here. 11 at the absolute most, but you can get 13. And using the Gleaming Blade, I'm not sure how many he gets, but it seems like it works out really well for him, because, you know, this is what he sticks with, so he must have got a good score on that. I'll have to double check the actual UT count in that one.
And also, going back to that fight where he picked up the key to get into this gate, he finished with 12 seconds left, and normally you would want to run that timer down to about a second or two, but you'll see at the end of the chapter, you know, that 12 seconds... you know, is going to help him out a lot.
Yeah, it's a very important 12 seconds. And even like there, when he did the accidental war run, you know, it's like all those little things, it adds up. You know, we've said it a lot of the time throughout the course of the run. Now, what he's doing here is easily the best way to just kind of run past ghostfish. Ghostfish can cost you a lot of time if they grab onto you a couple of times and you have to shake them off. So just using like the war run and then in air X or square with the true dragon sword, like there's a ridiculous amount of invulnerability on its on landing, so you can just keep doing that and it's pretty safe.
Well, you know, also you were talking about hitting the wall and your movement. You know, even that, like you said, adds up. So he could have, and not him exactly, you know, anybody, all that stuff adds up. So that 12 seconds earlier, if he's perfect wall running and everything, well, now he does have that time for points versus just making sure I make it through the end of the chapter in plenty of time.
Exactly.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's not just about the points you get in the fight. One thing to note about this fight is they did actually split this encounter up in NGB and NGO. This is just one fight where you come down for this, whereas in Sigma you have that first little fight there with the fish and the cats, and then you have this fight which triggers on your way back. So this is actually, you know, 2 fights in a row. Now, it's wise that he takes the hit there because he's got the health to withstand the damage, so it's not going to cost him a talisman, and he can just put in that elixir. That was a really nice use of the war run recovery there to stagger the essence. That looked really nice. Nice movement.
That almost didn't hit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's got the... I'm not sure... You can listen for that attack. Now, that one right there does have a tendency to whiff through Ryu. But what I'm guessing here is that he knows that... he knows that an ET is not going to kill him. And he's got a lot of time left on the clock. So he's able to jump away, charge a UT. And I know I've mentioned it, I think, in a previous video. But, the smoke bombs do work on the larger enemies. You just have to be a bit more, precise with where you place them.
What was in that chest? Did he open that chest? Was it just essence or elixir or something?
I can't remember if he did. I don't think he does, because you get the key for doing that first fight, I believe. I can't remember, even though it was only like a few seconds ago, but hey, what can you do?
So this is something we should ask him, or maybe he'll post in the notes why he, uses the Gleaming Blade one time and the Warhammer another time. Because I'm sure he figured all this out whenever he went through it.
I imagine I just thought, actually, I think for this, it may be to do with time, because there is a couple of ways you can kind of tackle this encounter. You can go for maximum UTs and ETs, which if you go for the absolute max, in theory, it's possible to get 15 UTs, but good luck getting that. I love that UT right there, it was so close. And what he's doing here is obviously just using the Warhammer and actually playing the fight with, making the time limit. And that could be to do with, because of the time. If he runs the time limit over to, mop up the extra fish, depending on where they spawn, that could potentially be 5 to 10 seconds. And as we said, once you see the end of chapter time, you'll see why, like, all this manipulation is important, because it's a very, very close time limit.
He actually does this fight a little bit opposite from what I do. I save the this next fight coming up to, right before I go fight Doku.
Yeah, I do as well, usually. I love how the fire wheels stun, like, the big crab fiends, and yet sometimes they can just walk right through a UT. And it doesn't do anything to them. I think there's only 2 crab fiends here, isn't there? Or is there another one after this one?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
So again, there's another, 15, 20 seconds, but you just don't have time to maximize Or if somebody wanted to maximize this, I mean, good luck to them. I'd love to see that video because it would take a lot of tries and a lot of patience and a lot of skill.
Yeah, I think the key to doing that, you'd probably have to cut out a couple of saves. Like, you'd probably have to commit to a couple of gauntlets. Now, one thing I just thought of, actually, going into this encounter, he does use the Gleaming Blade coming up, which takes longer. And that could very well be why he chose the Warhammer on the previous Ghostfish fight, because he's going to actually get more points coming up here. He gets a really, really good score on this fight, and it's because he's able to use the Gleaming Blade strategy where you only kill, like, potentially 1 to 3 fish, but that obviously takes a lot longer, as you've got over 50 seconds for this encounter.
Nice on landing.
Your positioning on that on landing is crucial too. If you land, like, further back to where that, like, you know, pillar, whatever that thing is supposed to be, fire pillar we'll call it, if you land like to the far back of it or to the left of where Ryu is now, you actually won't be able to use this strategy because the fish will get caught trying to get to you and they'll get stuck on the pillar and they won't actually like get to you so you can hit them. So landing where he lands is actually a crucial point in this strategy.
Well, this fight also had a longer time limit than the other one as well.
Yeah, I think that this always has a fairly generous time limit for this encounter. I like how the, like, blood is in, like, the Gleaming Blade shape as well. That was really cool.
Nice to have a save statue. I mean, not a save statue. Maramasa statue there. You can get rid of some of your excess money if you needed to.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
This, but
it's, like, because he's pretty much going to always be at the max, like, you can just fill up on it at the end of every chapter. And the extra Muramasa shops were a nice touch. He clings to the wall there to get a speed boost.
Yeah. Don't forget this key. I've done that plenty of times.
Yep. It looks like he almost goes without it, doesn't it? Like, he's on the way.
Well, then he went past it.
He turns around. He's like, wait. That's we all do that. I can't remember what's on your left there. It might be a scarab. I think it is.
There's a scarab in there.
But I mean, on hard and at this point in the game, it's not really going to benefit him to pick up all the scarabs. That doesn't really come into effect until like very hard and Master Ninja. And even then, it's not, you know, kind of that big of a deal.
I don't think I ever did.
The only thing it really gives you is it gives you the Dark Dragon Blade for the second half of the core, and that means you don't have to have like the low health UF to really kind of hurt the Berserkers, which is nice, but it's not really, you know, it's not essential. Only gets 3 hits there. Now, as you can see, there's not really a lot to Spirit Doku. You can pretty much start off with square, triangle, you know, triple square pretty easily. Get a huge chunk of damage on him. You can either burn a talisman or use your elixirs. It's really up to you. And just finish him off with a UT. You'll get a really nice kill bonus.
Okay, that's it. The time limit for Chapter 17 is 13 minutes. The kills are 183. As you can see, you know, 19 seconds left. So he did a great job manipulating everything, given the time, and we'll see you in the next chapter.
Take care, guys.